I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife, Ashley, was this outgoing, magnetic, full of life kind of person. Everyone who met her instantly loved her, and honestly, so did I. We met through mutual friends 7 years ago and got married 3 years later. I always considered myself lucky. Ashley was way out of my league, gorgeous, sharp-witted, and always the life of the party. But looking back now, maybe I ignored too many red flags. Like how she would lie about small things. Nothing serious at first, just silly stuff like why she was late from work or who she was texting. I always chalked it up to her wanting to avoid confrontation, but maybe that was me being naive. Things were fine for the most part until about 6 months ago. That's when I started noticing cracks in our picture-perfect relationship. It began subtly. Ashley started going out a lot more. Just catching up with friends, she'd say. And sure, I didn't mind at first. I didn't want to be the controlling husband. But the thing is, her nights out became more frequent. And then there was her phone. She'd always been glued to it, but now she wouldn't let it out of her sight. She'd take it to the bathroom, keep it face down on the counter, and seem jumpy whenever it pinged. Still, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Marriage is built on trust, right? I told myself I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid. And then came the party. That's when everything came crashing down. The night it all started unraveling, I wasn't even at the damn party. That's the irony of it. Ashley had been unusually giddy about it for weeks. Some high school reunion thing at a friend's lake house. I remember teasing her about it, saying, "Don't forget about your old boring husband while you're reminiscing with the cool kids." She just laughed and said, "You're way cooler than anyone there, babe." She left in this tight red dress I hadn't seen her wear in years. It hugged her perfectly, and I couldn't help but whistle when she walked out the door. "Be good," I joked. She smirked over her shoulder. "Always." That was Friday. Saturday evening, my buddy Mike called. Mike's the kind of guy who doesn't beat around the bush. He's also someone I trust completely, so when he started with, "Dude, I need to tell you something, and you're not gonna like it," my stomach immediately sank. Apparently, Mike's girlfriend, Stacy, had been at the same party, and Stacy had seen something. "I wasn't going to tell you," Mike said, "but I couldn't sit on this." "What? Just say it," I demanded, pacing the living room. Ashley wasn't just there to catch up with old friends. She spent the whole night glued to some guy. Ryan, I think his name was. The name hit me like a slap to the face. Ryan. Her ex. The one I'd heard about in passing but never met. The one she said was a mistake and a lesson learned. According to Mike, things between Ashley and Ryan looked way too friendly. Sneaking off to the patio alone, touching each other's arms like teenagers. But that wasn't the worst part. Stacy saw them kissing, Mike said bluntly, more than once. And they weren't exactly hiding it. I think I laughed at first. A dry, bitter laugh that didn't sound like me. "You're joking, right?" I asked, though I knew Mike wasn't. He didn't joke about this kind of stuff. "Are you sure it was Ashley?" "Positive, man." Stacy even tried to talk to her, but she just brushed her off and went back to Ryan. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. Ashley. My Ashley. The woman I trusted with my life. Kissing some guy at a party while I was at home watching Netflix and eating leftover pizza. "What the hell do I do, Mike?" I asked, my voice shaking. He sighed. "First, breathe. Second, talk to her." "But, bro, I wouldn't expect her to come clean without a fight." Ashley got home Sunday afternoon, smelling faintly of wine and cigarettes, neither of which she indulged in when she was with me. She walked in like everything was normal, planting a quick kiss on my cheek before tossing her purse on the counter. "Hey, babe, miss me?" she chirped, heading to the fridge for a bottle of water. I watched her for a moment, trying to figure out how I wanted to do this. Should I come out swinging, or should I ease into it? Mike's voice echoed in my head. "Don't expect her to come clean without a fight." "Did you have fun at the party?" I asked casually, leaning against the kitchen counter. "It was fine," she said, not meeting my eyes as she unscrewed the cap. "Nothing crazy. Just catching up with everyone. You know how it is." Liar. I felt my hands ball into fists, but I forced myself to stay calm. Oh yeah? Anyone interesting show up? She shrugged, sipping her water. Not really. Just the usual people. Her nonchalance lit a fire in me. I couldn't take it anymore. Was Ryan there? That did it. For a split second, she froze. Just a flicker, but I caught it. Then she recovered, her expression carefully neutral. Yeah, I think so. Why? Did you talk to him? My voice was steady, but inside, my heart was pounding like a drum. She narrowed her eyes, her defensive walls going up immediately. Why are you asking me all this? What's your deal? Because I know, Ashley, I snapped. I know you weren't just talking to him. I know you were all over him. And I know you kissed him. Multiple times. Her face flushed red. Guilt, anger, embarrassment, maybe all three. Who the hell told you that? She demanded, her voice rising. Mike? Stacy? God, I bet it was Stacy. That girl's always had it out for me. Don't deflect, I said firmly. Is it true? She crossed her arms, glaring at me. No. It's not true. I can't believe you're accusing me of something like this. Do you even hear yourself right now? I let out a bitter laugh. Oh, I hear myself. But do you hear yourself? You can't even look me in the eye while you lie through your teeth. Her bravado crumbled then, just a little. Fine, she muttered, looking away. We talked. That's it. I was just being friendly. Friendly? I scoffed. Friendly looks a lot different when you're kissing someone. Her eyes widened in mock indignation. It wasn't like that. He kissed me. I pushed him away. You're lying, I said coldly. Stacy saw you. She saw everything. So stop playing the victim. Ashley stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Then suddenly she shifted gears. Okay, fine. You want the truth? Yeah, I kissed him. But it didn't mean anything. It was just the alcohol and the nostalgia and you didn't think about me once. I finished for her. My voice cracked despite myself and I hated it. You didn't think about our marriage. About how I trusted you. Her face hardened again. Oh, don't give me that martyr crap, John. Don't act like you're perfect. You never make me feel special anymore. You barely pay attention to me. And Ryan, he made me feel wanted. Okay? Just for one night. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. So it's my fault? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. You're blaming me for your cheating? I'm not cheating, she shot back. It was one mistake. One stupid mistake. Don't throw everything away over this. But it wasn't one mistake, was it? Deep down, I knew there was more to the story, and I was determined to find out. Ashley stormed off to the bedroom after that, slamming the door behind her. I stayed in the kitchen, my mind racing. Her defense, the whole I made one mistake thing, wasn't sitting right with me. Something about the way she shifted the blame, how quickly she got defensive, how hard she pushed to downplay it. It all screamed that there was more to this. I needed proof. When I finally went to bed hours later, Ashley was already asleep, or at least pretending to be. I lay there staring at the ceiling, her words echoing in my head. Ryan made me feel wanted. Just for one night. I couldn't shake the image of her in that red dress. Laughing at something he said. Touching his arm. Kissing him. Was she doing that while I sat at home thinking she was having harmless fun with old friends? The next morning, Ashley acted like nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek, smiled like we hadn't just had the fight of our lives, and said, I'll see you after work. Okay? Once she was gone, I did something I never thought I'd do. I snooped. Her phone was locked, of course, but I knew her passcode. I hated myself for it, but I had to know. The first thing I opened was her text messages. There was nothing from Ryan. No messages, no calls. But something else caught my eye. A thread with someone named Tiffany. Only, Tiffany's messages didn't sound like a woman's. Last night was amazing. One read. Another. Let me know when we can do it again. I can't stop thinking about you. My stomach churned as I scrolled through more of the messages. Tiffany wasn't just some casual friend. This was someone Ashley had been confiding in. talking about sneaking out, keeping things quiet, and not getting caught. It got worse. Buried in the thread was a picture, a blurry selfie of Ashley and Ryan at the party. His arm was around her waist, and they looked way too cozy for just catching up. I felt sick. She hadn't just kissed him. She'd been carrying on with him behind my back, lying to me while coming home every night and acting like the loving wife. But the messages didn't stop there. They hinted at something else, something Ashley hadn't mentioned at all. Apparently, this wasn't the first time she'd reconnected with Ryan. There were mentions of that weekend in June and what happened after the concert. My blood ran cold. How long had this been going on? That evening, when Ashley walked in the door, I was ready for her. I had her phone sitting on the coffee table, the incriminating messages open and waiting. "Hey, babe," she said brightly, setting her bag down. When she saw the look on my face, her smile faltered. "What's wrong?" "You tell me," I said, nodding toward the phone. Her eyes darted to the screen, and her face drained of color. "John, How long?" I interrupted. My voice was eerily calm, but I could feel the anger bubbling beneath the surface. "How long have you been lying to me? How long have you been sneaking around with Ryan?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again, like she was trying to think of an excuse. But when she realized there was no talking her way out of this one, her expression shifted. The guilt and fear were replaced by something else, something cold. "Why were you going through my phone?" she demanded, as if that was the real issue. "You're not flipping this on me," I snapped. "Answer the question. How long?" There was a long silence, and then she said it. "Since May." "Since May," I repeated, my voice rising in disbelief. "That's almost half a year, Ashley. Half a year of lies, sneaking around, and making me look like an idiot." She crossed her arms, her eyes flashing with defiance. "It's not like I planned this, John. It just happened." "It just happened? Are you kidding me?" I shouted, my composure finally snapping. "Cheating doesn't just happen. You don't trip and fall into someone else's bed." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop being so dramatic. It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Ashley? Enlighten me, because from where I'm standing, it looks a hell of a lot like you've been betraying me for months." Her mouth twisted into a bitter smirk. "Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I've been seeing Ryan. And you know why? Because he makes me feel alive. Do you even realize how boring you've become, John? All you do is work, come home, and sit on the couch. There's no spark, no excitement. I needed something more." I stared at her, stunned by the venom in her words. This wasn't the Ashley I knew or thought I knew. "So instead of talking to me about how you felt, you decided to throw our marriage away?" My voice cracked, anger mixing with despair. "Do you even realize what you've done?" "Oh, don't act like this is all on me," she shot back. "You think you're so perfect? You haven't exactly been Prince Charming, John. Half the time, you don't even notice I'm in the room." Her words stung, but I wasn't about to let her rewrite history. "So this is my fault?" I asked, my voice deadly quiet. "You're the one who lied. You're the one who cheated. But somehow I'm to blame." Ashley threw up her hands in frustration. "I'm not saying it's all your fault, but relationships are a two-way street. Maybe if you'd paid more attention to me." "Stop." I cut her off, shaking my head. "Just stop. You're not going to justify this. You cheated, Ashley. You lied to my face over and over. And now you're trying to make it about me." She looked away, her jaw tightening. For the first time, I saw a flicker of shame in her eyes. But it was too little, too late. That night, Ashley slept in the guest room. Or at least she tried to. I didn't sleep at all. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her and Ryan, laughing, kissing, doing God knows what else while I was at home, clueless. My mind raced with questions I didn't want answers to. Had she ever felt guilty? Did she ever think about me while she was with him? Or was I just an afterthought? The next day I called Mike. I needed someone to talk to, someone who wasn't tangled up in this mess. She admitted it. I told him, my voice hollow. "Man, I'm so sorry," he said. What are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to throw her out and never look back. But another part, I don't know if I can let go that easily. 7 years, Mike. We've been together for 7 years. Mike was quiet for a moment, then said, Look, I can't tell you what to do. But whatever you decide, don't let her manipulate you. She's good at spinning things, John. Don't let her twist this around. When Ashley came home that evening, I was waiting for her. We need to talk, I said. She sighed, clearly dreading the conversation. About what? About what happens next. Her eyes darted nervously around the room. John, I know I messed up, but can we just move past this? We can fix things, I know we can. I shook my head. I don't know if I can fix this, Ashley. You didn't just hurt me. You broke my trust. And that's not something you can just sweep under the rug. I'll do anything, she said quickly, tears welling in her eyes. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. Just don't give up on us. For the first time, I saw real fear in her expression. But was it fear of losing me, or fear of losing the comfort and stability I provided? I stared at Ashley, her tearful plea hanging in the air between us. Part of me wanted to believe her, to believe that we could somehow fix what she'd broken. But another part, the part that had been replaying those text messages and that blurry picture in my head all day, knew the truth. You'll do anything? I asked, my voice colder than I expected. What about cutting off all contact with Ryan, blocking his number, deleting every trace of him from your life? Her face twisted in hesitation for just a moment, but that moment was all I needed. Of course, she said quickly, her voice trembling. I'll block him right now. I don't care about him, John. You're the one I want to be with. Then why didn't you block him months ago? I shot back. Why did it take getting caught for you to decide you care about our marriage? Ashley's lips parted like she wanted to argue, but no words came out. She looked down at the floor, guilt creeping into her expression. I didn't think it would go this far, she said softly. It was just stupid flirting at first. I didn't realize. Don't lie to me. I interrupted, my voice sharp. You realized. You knew exactly what you were doing every step of the way. You just didn't think you'd get caught. Her tears started falling then, thick and fast. I don't want to lose you, John. Please, don't throw away everything we've built. I felt something snap inside me. She was the one who had thrown it away, not me. But before I could say anything, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I glanced at the screen and saw a text from Mike. You're not going to believe this. I picked up the phone, curiosity overpowering my anger. Hang on, I said, holding up a hand as Ashley tried to keep pleading. I opened the message and nearly dropped the phone. Mike had sent a screenshot of a post from Facebook. It was from Ryan's profile, a picture of him and Ashley at the same party. But this one wasn't blurry. This one was crystal clear. Ashley was in his lap, her arms draped around his neck, her head tilted back in laughter. The caption, "Some things never change." My blood went ice cold. John. Ashley's voice trembled. What is it? I turned the phone toward her, my hand shaking with rage. Explain this. Her face turned ghostly pale as she stared at the screen. I don't know why he posted that, she stammered. He's just trying to mess with me, I swear. Oh, he's messing with you? I said, my voice rising. Ashley, this picture doesn't look like someone messing with you. It looks like someone who knows exactly what kind of relationship you have. It's not what it looks like, she cried, but the panic in her voice only fueled my fury. You're right, I said, standing up and glaring at her. It's worse than what it looks like, because now I know this isn't just some drunken mistake. You've been playing me this whole time. She reached for me, but I stepped back. John, please. Stop. I snapped, my voice breaking. Stop lying. Stop making excuses. Just stop. I don't know who you are anymore, Ashley, but I know who you're not. You're not my wife. Not the woman I thought I married. That night, Ashley moved her things into the guest room without me having to ask. Neither of us said much after that fight, but the air between us was thick with tension and unsaid words. I spent the night lying awake, my mind spinning. Could I even imagine a life without her after 7 years together? Did I even have a choice anymore? The morning after that fight, Ashley left for work without a word. I didn't say anything either. What was there to say? The house felt empty, the silence almost mocking. I decided to take the day off. I needed time to think. And, honestly, I couldn't stomach the thought of pretending everything was fine around my coworkers. Around noon, my phone buzzed again. Another text from Mike. Check Ryan's profile. Now, my chest tightened as I opened Facebook, dreading whatever I was about to see. Sure enough, Ryan had posted again. This time, it was a picture of a handwritten note. The caption read, "Classy lady." I zoomed in on the note, my heart sinking as I read the words. "Last night was incredible. Can't wait to see you again soon. Love, A." My hands started shaking. I recognized that handwriting. I'd seen it 1,000 times before in birthday cards, grocery lists, and little sticky notes she'd leave on the fridge. It was Ashley's. When she came home that evening, I was sitting in the living room with my laptop open. Ryan's profile pulled up on the screen. The second she walked in, I held it up so she could see. "Care to explain this?" I asked, my voice flat. Ashley froze, her bag slipping off her shoulder. "John, don't," I said, cutting her off. "Don't even try to lie this time. I know it's your handwriting, Ashley. And I know this wasn't from months ago or some random mistake. This is now." She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing as she scrambled for words. Finally, she said, "It's not what you think." I let out a bitter laugh, standing up and pacing the room. "Not what I think. Ashley, you're literally leaving love notes for the guy you've been cheating on me with. What the hell else am I supposed to think?" "It's complicated," she said weakly. "No," I snapped, spinning around to face her. "It's not complicated. It's actually really simple. You've been sneaking around behind my back, lying to me, and now you're trying to weasel your way out of it again." She finally dropped the act, her shoulders slumping. "Fine. You're right," she admitted. "I wrote the note. I saw him last night. Are you happy now?" "Happy?" I repeated, my voice rising.
No, Ashley.
"I'm not happy."
I'm furious. I'm disgusted. I'm heartbroken.
"But I'm definitely not happy." She crossed her arms, her eyes defiant. "What do you want me to say, John? That I'm sorry? That I regret it? Because I don't. Not entirely." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. "You don't regret it?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Do you even hear yourself right now? Do you have any idea how much you've hurt me?" She looked away, biting her lip. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said softly. "But maybe this marriage just isn't what I thought it would be. Maybe we aren't what I thought we'd be." There it was. The confession I hadn't wanted but knew was coming. She wasn't just cheating out of boredom or impulse. She'd checked out of our marriage completely, and hadn't had the guts to tell me. That night, I packed a bag and left. I couldn't stay in that house, not with her. Not after everything. I crashed at Mike's place, barely saying a word as I sat on his couch, staring blankly at the wall. "Man, I'm so sorry," Mike said, handing me a beer. "You don't deserve this." "No," I said bitterly. "I don't. But here I am." The next morning at Mike's place, I woke up feeling drained. I hadn't slept much. Every time I closed my eyes, memories of Ashley and me together would surface, followed by images of her with Ryan. It felt like two versions of my life were colliding, and the wreckage was all around me. Mike brewed some coffee and handed me a cup. "So what now?" he asked carefully. "I have no idea," I admitted, staring into the mug. "I thought I'd have more clarity after leaving, but all I feel is empty." "Well," Mike said, sitting across from me, "you've got options. You can try counseling, but honestly, after everything she's done, I don't know how you come back from that." I nodded slowly. He wasn't wrong. The Ashley I married was gone. In her place was someone who had lied, cheated, and destroyed my trust. Could I even look at her the same way again? The answer was becoming clearer by the second. By mid-afternoon, I decided to go back to the house. Not to reconcile, but to lay it all out. I wasn't going to let Ashley twist the narrative anymore. I was done being the guy she thought she could manipulate. When I walked through the door, Ashley was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, her face instantly hardening. "So, you just left? No word, no nothing." "I needed space," I said bluntly. "And now I'm here to talk." She folded her arms, leaning back against the cushions. "Oh, so now you want to talk?" After storming out and ignoring my calls all night, I took a deep breath, determined not to let her bait me. "This isn't going to be a fight, Ashley. I'm not here to argue. I've made my decision." Her eyes narrowed. "What decision?" "I'm done," I said, my voice steady. "I can't do this anymore. I can't trust you, and I can't live in a marriage where I'm constantly questioning everything you say and do. It's over." For a moment, she just stared at me, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Then, slowly, she started to laugh. A cold, bitter laugh that sent chills down my spine. "Wow," she said, shaking her head. "You're really just giving up, huh? 7 years together, and you're throwing it all away like it's nothing." "You're the one who threw it away," I said firmly. "You threw it away every time you lied to me, every time you chose Ryan over me. This isn't on me, Ashley. This is all on you." Her expression darkened. "You think you're so righteous, don't you? Like you're this perfect husband who did nothing wrong. Newsflash, John, you're not perfect. You're not even close." "Maybe I'm not," I said, meeting her glare. "But I didn't cheat. I didn't betray you. I didn't destroy our marriage." Ashley stood up, her fists clenched at her sides. "Fine. Go. Leave. But don't think for a second that you're the victim here. You're just as much to blame for this falling apart as I am." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I grabbed my bag from the guest room, walked out the door, and didn't look back. That night I checked into a motel. It wasn't much, but it was a start. For the first time in a long time, I felt a strange sense of peace. Like I was finally taking control of my life again. It hurt, of course. I wasn't naive enough to think I could move on overnight. But at least I wasn't stuck in the web of lies and betrayal anymore. The motel room was quiet, almost suffocatingly so. As I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floral-patterned wallpaper, the reality of my situation began to sink in. 7 years of love, laughter, and plans for the future had crumbled in just a matter of days. It was overwhelming, but strangely, I also felt relief. Walking away was painful, but staying would have been unbearable. The next morning, I woke up to several missed calls and texts from Ashley. The first few were desperate pleas to come home. "John, please let's talk. I know I messed up, but we can fix this." Then they shifted to anger. "Wow, you're really doing this? Just running away like a coward." And finally, bitterness. "You're pathetic. You couldn't handle a real marriage anyway." I didn't respond to any of them. There was nothing left to say. I blocked her number after the last message and deleted her contact. If we needed to communicate, it would be through lawyers. That day, I called my sister, Emily. She'd always been my rock. Someone who told it like it was but never judged. When I told her everything, she was silent for a moment before saying, "You did the right thing, John. She doesn't deserve you." "Thanks, Em," I said, my voice cracking. I feel so lost. I don't even know who I am without her." "That's because she made you question everything," Emily said. "She broke you down little by little. But now you get to rebuild. And this time you do it on your terms." Her words stuck with me. That night, I started making a list of all the things I'd put on hold for Ashley. The trips I hadn't taken because she didn't want to go. The hobbies I'd let fall by the wayside because she thought they were boring. The friendships I'd let fade because she didn't like my friends. It was a long list. 2 weeks passed. I found a short-term rental, started seeing a therapist, and reached out to old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. It was awkward at first, telling people why Ashley and I had split. But the more I talked about it, the easier it got. And the more I saw their reactions, the more I realized how much Ashley had isolated me. Mike, especially, was a lifesaver. He dragged me out of the house one weekend to a local brewery, where I laughed harder than I had in months. "See?" he said, clinking his glass against mine. "Life doesn't end just because your marriage does." Meanwhile, Ashley wasn't taking my silence well. I heard from mutual friends that she'd been telling people her version of events, that I was cold, that I'd abandoned her, that the marriage had been dead for years. It stung, but I reminded myself that her lies weren't my burden anymore. One evening, Emily called with some news. "You might want to brace yourself," she said. "Ashley posted something on Facebook." "What now?" I asked, already exhausted by the thought of her antics. "She's with Ryan," Emily said bluntly. She posted a picture of them at some fancy restaurant. The caption said something like, "Finding happiness after heartbreak." I laughed, but it wasn't out of humor. It was the kind of laugh you let out when you've been punched in the gut and can't do anything but laugh at the absurdity. "Well," I said finally, "good for them. They deserve each other." That night, for the first time since leaving Ashley, I felt a strange sense of closure. She was with Ryan now, which meant she was officially someone else's problem. I didn't need to carry her betrayal anymore. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I went to bed that night and slept better than I had in months. The weeks turned into months. Slowly, the raw ache of betrayal dulled into a quiet background hum, the kind you only notice when the rest of the world goes silent. Therapy helped a lot. More than I expected, honestly. My therapist, Dr. Lopez, didn't sugarcoat things, but she helped me unpack the deeper truths about my marriage. "You lost yourself in that relationship," she said during one session. "Now it's time to find yourself again." It was a simple idea, but it stuck with me. For years, I'd been so focused on keeping Ashley happy, on being the husband she wanted, that I'd forgotten who I was outside of her. So, I decided to take Dr. Lopez's advice literally. I started doing things that made me happy. I signed up for a photography class, something I'd always wanted to try but never had the time for. I started going hiking again, rediscovering trails I hadn't seen since my 20s. I even joined a local trivia league with Mike and Emily, which turned out to be way more fun than I expected. One weekend, while hiking a trail just outside the city, I met someone. Her name was Claire. She was crouched near a stream, photographing a cluster of wildflowers. When she noticed me watching, she smiled and said, "I know it's cliché, but I can't help it. They're just so photogenic." I laughed and held up my own camera. No judgment. I think I have about 50 pictures of that same stream already. We ended up walking the trail together, talking about photography, favorite hiking spots, and the best places in town for pizza. There was an ease to our conversation that caught me off guard. For the first time in a long time, I felt a spark. Not the kind that burned fast and bright like it had with Ashley, but something warmer, steadier. When we reached the end of the trail, Claire said, "Well, I guess this is where we part ways. Unless..." She hesitated, then added, "You'd want to grab coffee or something? I know this great little cafe nearby." I hesitated for only a moment before saying, "I'd like that." Over the next few weeks, Claire and I started seeing each other casually. She wasn't pushy or demanding. She was patient, kind, and refreshingly honest. She knew about my divorce, and she never once tried to rush me into anything I wasn't ready for. "I'm not here to fix you," she said one night over dinner. "But I am here, if you want someone to walk alongside you while you figure things out." I didn't know what the future held for us, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. I was finally moving forward. As for Ashley, she did try to reach out one last time. About 3 months after I left, she sent me an email, long, rambling, and full of half-hearted apologies mixed with veiled attempts to guilt me into talking to her. She claimed things with Ryan hadn't worked out, no surprise there, and hinted that she wanted to make amends. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that betrayal doesn't have to define you. Can break you, yes, but it can also force you to rebuild, to find the parts of yourself that got lost along the way. I'm not the same person I was when I married Ashley, but maybe that's a good thing. To anyone going through something similar, I'll say this. It's okay to grieve what you've lost, but don't let that grief stop you from finding what comes next. You deserve better. You deserve peace. And most of all, you deserve happiness. Thank you for staying with me. This crazy journey is finally over and I'm ready for what's next. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more interesting stories. And leave a comment with what you would do in this situation. See you in the next videos.